June 8th, Moscow city has been wiped off the face of the earth. A tornado struck Moscow. Lightning bolt hit the Ostankino tower. It's on fire. Burn brightly so you don't go out. On June 8th, there was a flood at Vnukovo Airport. According to eyewitnesses, Terminal A is being flooded near gates 15 and 16. Several flights have been delayed, including those to St. Petersburg, Yerevan, Pskov, and Nalchik. Muscovites are in a panic. Windows are being destroyed, roofs and skyscrapers are collapsing, roads are flooded. The downpour and hurricane that hit Moscow turned the tennis festival in Luzhniki into a water park. To be continued. Friends, a yellow danger level has been declared in Moscow. Heavy rains have flooded Moscow, tearing off roofs and shattering windows. But the most interesting thing is that Muscovites are swimming home. Heavy rain and thunderstorms have started in Moscow. In some areas there is no electricity and peals of thunder can be heard. Boom, bada boom.
According to Telegram channels, at this time, the emergency services are receiving quite a lot of calls. For example, a woman called an ambulance after a fence fell on her. And the boy needed help after a branch fell on him. According to the investigative committee, one person has died. It was a man in the north of Moscow. He was crushed by a tree.
Friends, please like this video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dasha. In the comments, write a few kind words in support of Ukraine and also let us know where you're watching from. Like, comment, subscribe, and let's get started. Your favorite topic, Moscow, as you mentioned earlier, which has been experiencing flooding.
Why go to the sea? We're right here. There are even people swimming over there. Damn.
On June 8th, Moscow and the Moscow region were hit by a downpour with hail. Heavy rain, wind, and hail in Mytishchi and Korolyov. Today, bad weather is expected not only in Moscow. City services are warning that the capital will see rain with thunderstorms and strong winds up to 15 meters per second. In the second half of the day, thunderstorms will rumble through Moscow.
Just look at the hail.
Hail hit the Moscow region. And this is what it looks like in Korolyov.
This is all hail. It's hail. This is a real precedent.
Yes.
I honestly don't even really know how a tree like this could have possibly ended up here. To be honest, this particular tree just somehow quite literally flew in from somewhere, I guess. This is the middle of the road. It's unreal. I had just stepped out of the building entrance, and right then a tree fell onto a car. Look, my dad is right here.
The first summer thunderstorm arrived in Moscow and struck the Ostankino TV tower. According to meteorologists, in the coming hours and until the end of the day, the capital of Mordor is expected to see heavy rain, downpours, thunderstorms, hail, and hurricane-force winds. There is also a high probability of tornadoes forming.
What? Unbelievable.
What's going on?
It's just crazy what's happening here. Absolutely insane.
A responsible citizen is someone who actively contributes to their community, follows the laws, respects the rights of others, and always strives to make positive choices that benefit society as a whole. Good job, young man. He took our what? Uh-huh. Don't film.
I think honestly there probably won't be such a strong gust of wind like that anymore. At least not. But I might end up naked. I'm not subscribed to Martin. I like this public page. If I were wearing a raincoat too, no one will help. Seriously. Uh-huh.
Just wander around the public. To be continued.
Moscow crews are dealing with the aftermath of the bad weather. They are opening storm drain grates, letting water into the drainage system, and using powerful pumping stations. It is already known that this June has become the rainiest in the entire history of meteorological observations. It should be noted that the heavy rain will continue until the end of the day, until 22:00. In this regard, Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin has been actively overseeing the situation, working closely with a team of specialists from the city's relevant departments to ensure that all necessary measures are being taken. These experts have been diligently monitoring developments and coordinating their efforts to keep the public informed and prepared. According to recent updates provided by the specialists at the Phobos Center, an organization well known for its expertise in meteorological and environmental analysis, the period of uncertainty is drawing to a close. The Phobos Center's latest reports indicate that the anticipated changes are expected to occur very soon, and residents should remain attentive. Everything will subside closer to midnight. Meanwhile, eyewitnesses are sharing footage with us. Let's take a look at a few clips.
Just and how strong the wind was. It knocked down all the trees. Just look at this.
Yes, there really were some crazy videos online. The hurricane force wind is literally sweeping away everything in its path. You can see these videos on your screen right now. It rips roofs of houses, bends billboards, knocks down fences and trash bins.
Unbelievable. Can you imagine? That fire. Oh, that would be a disaster. Oh, I hope no one drowned there. There's even some daredevil trying to swim across. Terrible. There's water there too. Well, definitely less. And firefighting wasn't there. People are slowly making a completely new path across the long...
So it looks like our house is in danger. This is already very scary. Look at what happened. Part of the subsoil collapsed. Oh, and the entrance to the basement broke. And now all the water that's here in Moscow is pouring in there in a huge stream. So can anyone tell me what to do? House is old, it might not be able to withstand this at all.
How did this happen?
It's a flood.
Yeah, it's a flood, an emergency. Uh-oh.
Fucking hell. Listen, this is probably the best story I've ever had. Well, that's fucking awesome. What the hell?
No, they haven't put it out yet. I see they're getting water from here. Well, the passers-by are great. They're helping out. Someone's already throwing things out of the windows over there, carrying stuff out. Good job, passers-by. But honestly, it's scary. What if the roof collapses?
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
They're pouring it in down below. Look.
Now we're going to have a super flood.
This. That's the kind of old-timer town we have. It's different.
And to wrap up, as usual, let's take a look at a breakdown of top-notch Russian propaganda.
Look at what's happening on Prospect Mira, not far from their main mosque. On the days when they have Kurban Bayram, there is no traffic on this 12-lane highway. 12 lanes, 6 in one direction and 6 in the other. And so, from the balcony, people are filming from the metro, Prospect Mira, and all the way down Yaroslavskoye Highway. You can't see the end. The entire area is covered with people. And these are men, strong men, men who don't drink, who all practice wrestling, who go to the gym to train. It's a whole army. And if one day the mullah orders them to slaughter Muscovites, believe me, they'll do it quickly, because the Ministry of Internal Affairs won't even have time to make a sound or handle it. And the result will be very sad. Why are they strong? I'll say it again. Because they are bound together by a single bond faith.
Some idiot who put on a cassock. Honestly, I can't call him anything but an idiot. He's a representative of the army of the Antichrist. There's no other way to put it. He's telling 2 billion Muslims that our faith is wrong. I have a question. Who are you to say things like that? There are 30 million indigenous Muslims living in Russia. And what exactly do you want to tell us? What is our faith, right or wrong? While we are doing everything we can to unite Muslims and Christians, here comes yet another idiot making these kinds of provocative statements. But I also have a question. Does it really have to come to someone breaking the law and doing something drastic, just so idiots like this would stop saying such things? And if anyone raises the head of nationalism, that head must be cut off. It simply needs to be cut off, that head.
Why doesn't the sight of them crossing the Crimean Bridge evoke any particular emotions in you? But if we hit the Kyiv Dam, you get so worked up every time. But if Ukraine strikes the Crimean Bridge, what's stopping us from destroying the Kyiv Dam? I honestly don't understand.
Personally, I don't post about all these things, and it's not that I'm happy about it. I get it was...
But I'm thinking logically. Vladimir Rudolfovich, you're not being logical because I read what the experts say. Yes, it was sabotage. But it didn't actually cause any harm to the Crimean Bridge. And if it could have, well, and you mentioned the Kyiv Dam there. Tens of thousands of people died at the very least. That was sabotage, but this is a terrorist attack. These are different things. Vladimir Vladimirovich, excuse me, I want to remind you that the previous act of sabotage on the Crimean Bridge resulted in people being killed. Moreover, it was only a stroke of luck that prevented the train passing nearby from derailing, because that was exactly the intention. Vladimir Vladimirovich, I'm running out of time, and I want to ask you one more question. I'm not arguing with you so that, because you say I'm covering for some people. No. Why would striking the dam necessarily cause deaths?
Are you serious? If the Kiev dam is blown up, come on. No, wait, there, no, wait. Listen. The water would flood half of Kiev region and the Cherkasy region. People would die, civilians would die, and on a massive scale.
Just a minute. When the Ukro-Nazis blew up the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant dam, I don't remember anyone being particularly upset. Back then I was there. I saw all of it with my own eyes.
And people died.
So what? Did the international community even flinch?
Vladimir Vladimirovich.
Excuse me, how many strikes hit there? They deliberately pounded it with HIMARS, and just imagine how much money was spent firing those HIMARS to destroy that dam. And what happened?
I'm all for punishing those terrorists to the fullest, but I'm against calling for revenge. Let's hit them with something big, or destroy the Kiev dam, or wipe out all of Kiev.
Vladimir Vladimirovich, are you suggesting that during the Great Patriotic War we shouldn't have bombed Berlin?
Russia, as always, underestimates its opponents. They seriously underestimated Mr. Zelensky and his team. He was called all sorts of names. Let's recall comedian, drug addict, expired, and so on and so forth. In my view, apparently, the people who used such words and epithets about him were just trying to assert themselves. Cheap drones, where artificial intelligence was used, where there was delivery, that is a successful special operation. Do you understand? In the language of special services, this is a bold, successful operation which resulted in minimal costs but caused billions of dollars in damage. Well, what can I say? Bold and effective. He is, as you can see, the head of the security service of Ukraine. How did something like this become possible? How? They spent a year and a half preparing, calculated everything precisely, prepared everything thoroughly. After all, this is a success. This is a success for the SBU, no matter what anyone tells me. And here I don't want to label anyone or pass judgment, but it turns out that the entire Russian state machine was prepared for anything except this special operation. That's how it turns out. So they didn't even consider it in their models?
What am I supposed to say to that?
Because it turns out that we're all left hanging, literally. We don't know where these trucks might be, if there are similar trucks, if there are similar caches. After all, what they demonstrated today could be used to destabilize things even without sending drones from Ukrainian territory. For example, the operation of aviation hubs, yes, key ones across Russia, we can see that they've reached as far as the Amur region. So it turns out that any rear areas, any industries, any directions can be destabilized. And this reminds me of the story with Mossad. And remember the special operation with the cell phones? Here, it's even more audacious. Here, there's artificial intelligence involved, as well as delivery, storage, and in fact, the strike itself. This is a weakness, not a strength. So does the opponent have a different model? Everyone used to laugh at him, right? They said, oh, he's this and that. But he created a system. Was it him or his team? If it was his team, then it's to his credit that he assembled such a team.
In Ukraine, the leaders whom Putin has just called terrorists continue to shed tears over the nuclear arsenal that was handed over to Moscow after the collapse of the Soviet Union. They are proposing to make dirty bombs from the fuel that remains at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. Supposedly, it would only take a few weeks to do this, and then, without any warning, they could drop the bombs on Russia. These people are sick.
Hello, you are watching Channel 1 Live, and this is the program Time Will Tell. I'm Artem Shenin, which means, as always at this time, we bring you the most important and most relevant news. Today is June 20th, and the news of June 20th is the kind of news that outshines all other news, if only because it is so important, interesting, and all-encompassing that, compared to it, the news from June Honest isn't even worth discussing anymore, since, well, June Honest was yesterday. That's that. So for anyone interested in the news from June Honest, I wrote a lot about it yesterday on my Telegram channel. That's that. If you're interested, go ahead and check it out, read both the news and my thoughts on the matter. But since that was yesterday, and today is June 20th. And today we're in Istanbul. We'll be discussing June 20th in Istanbul because, well, you all understand why. That's that.
You know what we need to do? So that when a guru or a former intelligence officer or a recruited agent gets behind the wheel of a heavy truck and drives to a military airfield so that drones are launched from the vehicle he's driving, we need to make sure he sees such a trip not as a journey to buy bagels at a Russian fair, but as a one-way road. He needs to understand that when he gets arrested, he won't be sent to a detention center where he'll get medical treatment, read books, rest, eat well, and then return home with medals and decorations after the next prisoner exchange. But he'll be shot, or better yet, hanged. That's how it should be, and there's no need to liquidate him during the arrest. I insist on this. That's too easy. There needs to be a trial and investigation, but a very brief one. You can introduce a simplified form of criminal proceedings, and the death penalty by hanging. And that's right, and that's good. And this will change the rules of the game. For this, there's no need to listen to the chairman of the Constitutional Court who tells us fairy tales about liberal values, about Europeans, about how the world will be offended, about how it's all so complicated to change these laws. None of that is necessary. A presidential decree, we end the moratorium. And as part of this decree, we write, Decree of the President of the Russian Federation on urgent measures to combat banditry, terrorism, and sabotage activities. And then we introduce simplified procedures. Detention for 30 days without trial. We detain, place the person in a cell, and carry out operational measures with them. By the way, this will be very useful for migration issues. But most importantly is the death penalty. Simplified criminal proceedings and hanging. That's it. And then a lot of things will change.
And that's why, Vladimir Vladimirovich, the inspection has just taken place, right? The regions have started to implement something, but it's very important to maintain this attention, this coordination, this support and training. And I strongly ask for your decision to transform the All-Russian inspection, which you instructed to conduct, into an All-Russian Family Assistance Service.
Retribution, or more precisely, just punishment for those who are behind all of this, is inevitable. And we, as civilized people, at that moment will negotiate with them, about how they prefer to face the firing squad, with their eyes blindfolded or on their knees facing the wall, or bravely looking down the barrel. Well, those are the three options that in the end we will have to discuss with them. We, as humane people, will grant them the right to choose as their last wish.
After all, strategic aviation is part of our nuclear triad. So they weren't just targeting a plane, but specifically a plane that carries special munitions in particular, the Kh-55 missiles, of which there are 16 as a standard on the 295. And off it went. And a single plane like that could easily wipe out half of America. That's what it's all about. Now, attention, here's a question. Who is ultimately responsible for the nuclear triad? Who is it? That's right, it's the General Staff. The General Staff is responsible for the nuclear triad, probably. You know, the scariest thing is, I really hope this doesn't just get swept under the rug and that someone is actually held accountable, not just some scapegoat like the commander of the airbase, who supposedly didn't guard himself well enough. This turned out to be a systemic problem. And moreover, it's not just about removing someone from their position. Someone needs to be held criminally responsible under the criminal code for causing enormous damage to our country.
Please like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dasha. We work for an audience all over the world so that people know the truth about Russian aggression, about Russia's war against Ukraine. That's why every like, every comment, and every subscription helps ensure that as many people as possible around the world see this video. Stay with us, stay on the side of light.
Friends, glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes. We will definitely win.